Hello everyone. Welcome to my August wrap up. I understand it's mid-September. I do understand that. But you know what? August didn't exist. August was one big dissociation. We're gonna roll with it. I've got a stack of 7 books. Join me on a literary journey. I've got my tea. It's 9 p.m. We're feeling cozy. Let's get into it. Okay, book number 1. I read this book for work because I interviewed Andrea. This book is The Lost Sister by Andrea Gunraj. So this book is a dual narrative. We start off following Alicia and Diana. So Alicia is the younger sister and Diana is the older sister. Alicia and Diana's relationship at the starting point of this book is a little bit tumultuous. So Alicia has decided that she is going to kind of like break away from Diana while they're at the mall so that Diana will get in trouble for losing her little sister. Alicia separates from her sister and then she's like strutting home, is ready to witness the smackdown that's gonna happen when her parents realize that Diana lost Alicia, but then she finds out that Diana is actually missing. A huge part of this book is Diana missing and their family dynamics really starting to unravel, and Alicia growing up and realizing that she needs to step into Diana's role in the family, or like she at least feels like she needs to step into her role. One thing that I loved so much about this book is that the idea of the lost, like a lost sister, is implemented in so many different ways. In the literal loss of Diana, in the like metaphorical loss of Alicia and her identity when she decides that she needs to essentially be her older sister once her older sister goes missing. It's excellent. The writing was really well done. And then the other narrative is through Paula, who grew up in, so Paula was an orphan in the Nova Scotia Home for Colored Children, which they were like homes that actually happened. This part of the story is like based in actual history. When I interviewed the author talked a lot about how Andrea had a friend who was in this home for colored children, and that's part of what inspired her to write this book. So a lot of the narrative is Paula and Paula's history in this home, and Paula finding her way back to her estranged sister as well. So those narratives come together. The storytelling is incredibly well done. There's some difficult topics in here, so I would definitely check the content warnings before you pick it up, just to make sure that it's not gonna be yucky and feel too bad when you read it. Yes. The second book that I read in August is Lost in the Neverwoods by Aiden Thomas. We start off following Wendy. She has just turned 18. I think it starts on the day of her 18th birthday, if I'm not mistaken. And she's working at the hospital where her mom also works. She's driving home, and on her way home, she has to drive through these woods. She is terrified of the woods because when she was younger, she and her 2 brothers, John and Michael, got lost in the woods, and she was found one day, but her brothers were never found. And so that's the main mystery of the book, is her trying to figure out what happened to her brothers and this like gaping hole that is in their life. We're driving through the woods with Wendy, and all of a sudden she gets hit by something as she's driving, and she gets out of the car and she sees Peter Pan lying on the side of the road, except he's no longer a boy. He's like grown older. So that's where we start off, and she doesn't remember him. She doesn't remember any of the adventures that they had in the past. And part of it as well is that there are children in like the present day who have started to go missing, like when Wendy is 18. So we're trying to figure out what's happening to these children who are going missing. We're also trying to figure out what happened to John and Michael when they were younger. And Wendy's trying to fill in this hole in her memory from when they were younger as well. It was really well done. The pacing was a little bit slow. That was the only complaint that I had about it, was that there were times where things happened that I wasn't totally sure needed to happen. It just felt like a lot of fluff at times. But once you get maybe halfway through the book and it really starts picking up, it was really good. I really loved the retelling of the Peter Pan story. I think that it was just the right amount of magic. I can't say anything else without like spoiling stuff, but the retelling was really well done. The writing, as always, was gorgeous. Aiden Thomas is amazing. Check the content warnings for this guy as well. So I also have to say that I listened to this on audiobook mostly. It was the audiobook that I tucked into my ears when I was going to bed, and the audiobook is really good. So if you're into audiobooks, this is a good one to listen to. So the next book that I read was highly recommended by my wife, Haley. It is Get a Life, Chloe Brown. Noelle, one of the booktubers that I love, also loves this series, and this is a book that always gets recommended to me by listeners of She's All Fat, the podcast that I work for, because it has really great like fat rep in it. This book, it's a lot steamier than I thought it was going to be. I knew that it was steamy, and even knowing that it was, I was very taken aback by a lot of the things in it. So definitely an 18+ book for sure, but it's super fun. Chloe is this chronically ill computer geek who loves designing websites. That's her business. And Red Morgan, who is, this is Red, he's the love interest. He is the super in her building, in Chloe's building. And he's an artist who's trying to find his way back to becoming an artist. He's kind of lost his way because of things in his past, and they hate each other. So it's enemies to lovers. And one day Chloe gets stuck trying to save a cat from a tree, and Red is the person who comes and unstucks her. That's the first spark in their relationship. And the through line of it is that Chloe has this list called her Get a Life list. Get a Life, Chloe Brown. And it's her list of things that she wants to do so that her life is braver, more fulfilling, less boring, more exciting. She wants to jumpstart her life by doing all of these exciting things that she's told herself she can't do. And Red eventually helps her with it. And from there, all kinds of fluff and shenanigans and steaminess ensues. It was a really great read if you're just looking for something fluffy and sweet and fun. My next book is kind of a chonker of a book. It is This Eden by Ed O'Loughlin. This cover is absolutely gorgeous. I'm in love with it. And this is a spy book that I had to read for work again. It's the first spy book that I've ever read, so I was a little bit intimidated to get into it. It did a really good job of catching my interest right off the bat, which was encouraging. And oh, what to say about this without giving too much away. So our main character's name is Michael, and he has a past that is very secretive. He doesn't really know what was up with his parents. He moved around a lot. There's just a lot of question marks in his life. His girlfriend Alice is also kind of like a computer geek coder person, but more so like a hacker, like, you know, spy book hacker. And her whole thing is that she wants to take down this corporation that owns like 99% of the world or something. Like, she wants to do this. She dies one day, and it happens in the prologue, so it's not a spoiler, but she dies one day, and Michael drives down to California kind of to figure out like what his next steps are, solving the mystery of what happened to Alice. And from then he gets recruited by a spy, and all of this chaos ensues, and they travel to different parts of the world. There's parts of this that are very, very, very dark. So don't read it if you're not in like a good headspace. Definitely check the content warnings. But it was a really good read, very thoughtful, very thought-provoking. Lots of themes related to like technology and corporations and money. It was a good read. It wasn't a light read. So I'll just leave it at that. It was a very heavy read, but it was really good. Speaking of light, fluffy reads, Red, White, and Royal Blue was the next book that I read in August. My sister has been wanting me to read this for a really long time, and I'm glad that I finally did. I listened to the audiobook, and the person who read the audiobook did a really good job with the accents and with the characterization and everything. This book is about Alex, who is the first son of the United States, and Henry, who is the Prince of something. Prince of England? Prince of England? Prince of Britain? He's a prince across the pond. And it starts out as like enemies to lovers, loathing to lovers. I don't really know how to describe it. But they hate each other, or more specifically, Alex hates Henry. The inciting incident is that Alex is at Henry's sister's wedding. So they're in England, and he gets into a fight with Henry and knocks over the huge wedding cake and just makes a spectacle at the wedding. And then they have to spend time together as a like media stunt because they have to prove that England and America are on good terms. And from there, you can guess what happens. They do some stuff. It's another book that is very steamy that I was not expecting it to be as steamy as it was, and it was kind of like funny to get caught off guard by it. But yes, so it is very fluffy, but there's also a lot of like undertones of very serious ideas and like thought. Like obviously they are in a gay relationship that has to be kept secret, because if it went public it would have a lot of implications for a lot of people. And Casey McQuiston does explore that in the book. They also do talk about like identity and politics. I really loved how Casey balanced all of these very serious and real topics with lightheartedness and softness. And it does have a hopeful ending. So that's also about that. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. I would recommend it to anybody who wants some fluff and a nice little love story with high stakes. So the next book that I read is a nonfiction book. The first nonfiction book that I've read in quite a few months. It is Belly of the Beast by Deshawn L. Harrison. We had Deshawn on She's All Fat a couple months ago, I think, and they are just absolutely wonderful. So the full title of this is Belly of the Beast, The Politics of Anti-Fatness as Anti-Blackness. It's incredibly groundbreaking in the sense that it truly just calls for a complete overhaul of all of the systems that we currently live in. So a huge thesis in this book is how Deshawn explores the ways that functioning within these systems of capitalism and anti-fatness and racism and white supremacy, learning how to function within them isn't enough. And Deshawn really talks about how the entire world as it is really just needs to be dismantled and built up from the ground up. And they explore so many ways that all of these structures interact with life. They talk about the politics of prettiness and ugliness and self-love and health and the war on drugs and gender. They talk about so many things that are so interconnected and so insidious. And one of the things that they mentioned when we interviewed them for the podcast is that they wanted a book that was really accessible to anybody. Anybody can pick it up and read it, and it's not filled with academic jargon. It's an easy read. It's really broken down in a way where anybody could read it, and they really achieved that goal. I read it in one sitting. I couldn't put it down. I highlighted so many things. There's so much theory in here that is just excellent, and I'm just constantly mind blown at Deshawn's mind. I would suggest following them on Twitter, on Instagram. We love Deshawn. I just realized that my stack of books is peeking out. There we go. So the next book that I read is Sharks in the Time of Saviors by Kauai Strong Washburn. I found this book because Noelle, again, was talking about it in one of her vlogs. And just for anybody who doesn't know, I have like a weird relationship to sharks. I have a phobia of them because of just like stuff that happened when I was a kid. I like watched shark movies before I was supposed to watch shark movies and just like other stuff. Anyways, I have a phobia of sharks, but I also like have an intense love for them because they're such misunderstood creatures. So as soon as I saw the title and saw that there was a shark on the cover, I knew that I had to read this, and it was amazing. We start off by following Noah, like ever since he was little, he's been able to sense things around him that other people can't sense. So it takes place in Hawaii. Noah's family is like native to Hawaii. He has a connection to the land that his family doesn't have at that time. And one day they're out on a boat and Noah falls out of the boat, and we're seeing this through his mother's perspective at the time. So she's watching as all of these great white sharks are swarming around him in the ocean, and all of them are just thinking that Noah's gone, Noah's dead, that there's no hope. And Noah is then picked up in the jaws of this great white shark and delivered to the boat to his mother. And that image is an image that is just permanently seared into my mind. Like, how stunning is that? The story follows Noah and his two siblings and his mom. So it's told through all of their perspectives. It's a big exploration of this family's relationships and how Noah's gift, they call it, pulls them apart and brings them back together again. It's also largely about the consequences of poverty in Hawaii. It's written in the collapsing sugarcane industry. So it's written during that time where there like aren't as many jobs to go around. Noah's parents have to work a lot of odd jobs to make ends meet. And a lot of it is about that and about how this family's kind of like financial well-being a lot of the time rests on Noah's gift and that immense pressure that Noah has to live up to that. The story is so touching, but also the writing is just a masterclass in writing. It's so good. And then finally, the last book that I read was a digital copy of A Love Letter to Africaville by Amanda Carvery Taylor. And it is a collection of interviews that Amanda recorded with like her community and her family from Africaville. Africaville is this community that used to be in Nova Scotia that is no longer there because of gentrification and, I don't know, industrialism, just urban sprawl, urban growth. So it's no longer there, but Amanda collected these stories from different people who used to live in Africaville when Africaville was booming, and it's a collection of all of these memories, and it's also a photo book of reunions and people sharing their story. And it was a really quick read. There were so many times that I physically smiled while I was reading it because there was so much joy behind it and so much love and care, and you can feel that when you read it. It was excellent and beautiful, so lovely, so joyful. And that is the last book that I read in August. So thank y'all so much for sticking around for my cozy August wrap up. Before I sign off, I want to say thank you to my patrons. Thank you to Anne, Amal, Helen, Haley, Carol, Benny, Halima, and Carrie. Your support truly is what keeps me going and keeps me doing this. So thank you so much. If you want to join my Patreon, go to patreon.com/Yellowbert. It's in the description down below. Thank you so much. Hope that this was cozy and fun. See you in the next video.